My girlfriend told me, if you tell your parents what I did, we're over, so I told them at dinner. The beginning. I still remember the day I met Riley. It was at a mutual friend's housewarming party. She was standing by the makeshift bar, mixing herself what looked like an unnecessarily complicated drink. That looks serious, I said, gesturing to her drink. She smiled, that smile I'd come to know so well. Old-fashioned with a twist. Want one? There was something about the way she held eye contact just a second longer than necessary. By the end of the night, we'd exchanged numbers. By the end of the week, we'd had our first date. By the end of the month, I was telling my best friend that I'd met someone special. Riley was 28, 2 years younger than me. She worked as a communications director at a local nonprofit. She knew exactly what to say to make people feel understood, with an uncanny ability to make everyone feel like they were the most important person in the room. My parents met her 3 months in. We'd driven up to their place for Sunday dinner, a tradition I'd kept up religiously. They lived about 40 minutes outside the city in the house I grew up in. They are going to love you, I assured her on the drive over. Just be yourself. Riley laughed. I'm always myself. That's the problem. I remember the way my mom hugged her at the door, full and warm. My dad shook her hand and immediately started showing her his vinyl records, something he did with anyone he wanted to impress. Your parents are sweet, Riley said later that night as we drove home. Very traditional. I didn't pick up on the slight hesitation in her voice. Yeah, they're great, I said. Mom already texted me saying she thinks you're wonderful. Those first months were effortless. We spent weekends exploring parts of the city I'd never bothered to visit despite living there for years. She knew all the hidden gems, making life exciting and unpredictable in the best way. But looking back, there were signs. Early warning signals I chose to ignore. The small cracks. 6 months in, we decided to move in together. We found a loft apartment in an up-and-coming neighborhood with exposed brick walls and perfect windows. The first weekend in our new place, my college friends wanted to visit. Should I pick up some beer? She asked Riley. Jeff and the guys want to stop by tonight. She was organizing our bookshelf, arranging novels by color. Tonight. I was thinking we could have our first dinner here, just the two of us. We can do that tomorrow, I suggested. They are only in town for the weekend. She turned then, her expression carefully neutral. Of course. It's your place too. But that evening, while my friends were there, Riley was different. Not rude, she was too skilled at social navigation for that. But there was a coolness to her interactions. She smiled less. Laughed less. Made excuses to step away repeatedly. After they left, she said, your friend Jeff drinks a lot, doesn't he? Jeff had had maybe 3 beers over 4 hours. Not really, I said. And the way he talks about women, it's kind of gross. I tried to remember if Jeff had said anything offensive. I couldn't recall a single comment. I just think maybe we should be more selective about who we bring into our space, she continued. Energy matters, you know. It seemed reasonable at the time. Our home was our sanctuary. Why not be mindful about who we invited in? But then it happened with other friends. Small criticisms after they left. Emily was obviously jealous of our relationship. Marco was using me for professional connections. My old roommate was stuck in college mode. One by one, my social circle began to shrink. Not because Riley forbade me from seeing anyone, she was too smart for that, but because she made it easier not to. Easier to avoid the post-analysis, the subtle comments that made me question friendships I'd never doubted before. Work events were similar. Riley charmed my colleagues and boss, but afterward, she'd break down the social dynamics in uncomfortable ways. Your boss clearly doesn't respect you, she'd say. I could tell by the way he interrupted you. Or, that new project manager was flirting with you all night. You didn't notice. I'd go into work the next day second-guessing interactions. Work, which I'd always enjoyed, became a minefield of potential slights and hidden meanings. But nothing compared to how she slowly began to change my relationship with my family. The isolation. My parents had always been a constant in my life. Weekly dinners. Regular phone calls. The kind of easy, comfortable relationship that comes from mutual respect. Riley was warm and engaging the first few times we visited them. She helped my mom in the kitchen, discussed politics with my dad, played board games with my sister. "She's a keeper," my dad said once when Riley was out of earshot. But around the 8-month mark, things began to change. Riley started finding reasons not to go to Sunday dinner. A migraine. Work commitments. A friend in crisis. "You should still go," she'd insist. "I don't want to keep you from your family." At first, I went alone. But it felt strange being there without her, fielding questions about where she was. And there was always a slight tension when I got home, Riley asking detailed questions about what we talked about. "Your mom asked about my work again," she noted once. "She always seems so interested in what I do." "She is," I said. "She thinks what you do is important." Riley's expression darkened. "Or she's looking for something to criticize." I notice she always asks follow-up questions about my career choices. "She's just trying to get to know you better," I defended. Riley sighed. "You can't see it because she's your mom. But trust me, there's always this undertone when she talks to me. Like she's waiting for me to fail." The seed was planted. The next time I went to dinner, I found myself hyper-aware of my mom's questions, analyzing the tone of her voice, looking for the criticism Riley was so certain was there. Gradually, my visits became less frequent. Once every 2 weeks. Then once a month. Phone calls grew shorter, less personal. I told myself it was just the natural evolution of adult relationships, growing more independent from parents. And Riley reinforced this idea. "It's healthy to create some boundaries," she'd say. "You're not a child anymore." Meanwhile, Riley's presence in every other aspect of my life grew stronger. She suggested we share a phone plan. She reorganized our apartment, prioritizing her workspace. She developed sudden allergies to my deodorant. None of these things seemed significant on their own, just small, reasonable compromises. But underneath it all was a current of control I didn't recognize until it was too late. The discovery. It was an ordinary Tuesday when my mom called. I was working late at the office. Riley and I had been together for almost 3 years. "Hey, Mom," I answered, somewhat distracted. There was a pause, then a shaky breath. "Oh. You picked up." Something in her voice made me stop what I was doing. "Is everything okay?" I wasn't expecting you to answer," she said, sounding like she'd been crying. "I've been trying to reach you for weeks." A cold feeling settled in my stomach. "What are you talking about?" "I haven't gotten any calls. I've called at least 10 times. Left messages. Your father has too. We've been so worried." Then we thought, maybe you just needed space from us." "Mom, I haven't received any calls from you," I insisted. "The last time we talked was..." I tried to remember. When was the last time we'd spoken? With a shock, I realized I hadn't actually spoken to my mother on the phone in at least 3 months. "What's going on?" my mom asked quietly. "Did we do something wrong? Riley used to be so warm with us, and now she doesn't even respond to my texts. And you're so distant." "No, Mom, it's not that," I said quickly. "I've just been busy." The excuse sounded hollow even to my own ears. "Too busy to come to your sister's birthday dinner last month. You didn't even send a card." My sister's birthday. I'd completely forgotten. Or had I? I had a vague memory of Riley mentioning it, saying she'd take care of sending a gift from both of us. When I got home that night, Riley was on the couch, scrolling through social media. "My mom called me today," I said, watching her face carefully. "She said she's been trying to reach me for weeks. That she and my dad have left messages." Something flickered across Riley's face, so quick I almost missed it. Alarm. Annoyance. "That's weird," she said, returning to her phone. "Maybe they've been calling your old number." I've had the same number for 10 years. She shrugged. Technology glitches sometimes. I sat down across from her. She also mentioned my sister's birthday. Said I didn't even send a card. We sent a gift card, Riley said immediately. Remember? I ordered it online with a note from both of us. Had she? I couldn't remember discussing it. Look, I didn't want to tell you this. Riley continued. But your mom texted me a few weeks ago and she was not very nice. She basically accused me of keeping you away from them. Said I was controlling and isolating you. Something didn't add up. My mom wasn't the type to send accusatory texts. Can I see the message? She asked. Riley looked startled. I deleted it. It was upsetting. You deleted a single text from my mom. I didn't want to be reminded of it every time I opened my messages. She said defensively. I wanted to believe her. But doubt had taken root. I started paying attention to things I'd overlooked. How Riley always seemed to have my phone when messages came in. How she'd offer to respond to texts for me. How our shared phone plan had been her idea and she managed all the accounts. Then, on Friday night, I had my answer. Riley had gone out with colleagues. I was home alone when I heard a notification from my phone. There was a text from my mom, just checking if Sunday dinner still works this week. Dad's making his famous pot roast. As I went to reply, I noticed something odd. The message thread with my mom was almost empty. Just this text. And a handful of exchanges from months ago. None of the dozens of calls and messages she claimed to have sent. Acting on a hunch, I opened Riley's laptop. We both knew each other's passwords, something she had insisted on early as a sign of complete transparency. I navigated to the cloud backup of her phone. And there it was. A folder of screenshots. Hundreds of them. Screenshots of conversations she'd had with my parents, my sister, my friends, all while pretending to be me. Using my phone while I was asleep or in the shower or at the gym. Sorry, can't make it this weekend. Swamped with work. Maybe next month. The holidays are really stressful this year. Riley and I have decided to spend it just the two of us. Thanks for the invitation, but we've already made plans. Message after message, all sent from my phone. All written in a voice that was almost, but not quite, my own. All constructing a narrative of a son who was pulling away from his family by choice. And worse, her responses to my mom's increasingly worried texts. I need some space right now. Please respect that. It's easier if you just text Riley from now on. She can keep me updated. We are trying to build our own life. Constant check-ins don't help. I felt physically ill reading them. Each message was a calculated move in a longer game. When Riley came home that night, I was sitting at the kitchen table. Her laptop open in front of me. The screenshots displayed on the screen. She took one look and knew. There was no point denying it. Why? She asked. Why would you do this? She set down her purse with deliberate calm. I did it for us. Your family was holding you back. Holding me back from what? From who you could be. You don't see it, but they've programmed you to be dependent on them. The weekly dinners, the constant check-ins. It's not healthy. I stared at her in disbelief. So you decided to what? Cut them out of my life. Without telling me. I was protecting you, she said, and the most terrifying part was that she seemed to genuinely believe it. They've never respected your boundaries. Your mom is constantly asking invasive questions. Your dad still treats you like you're 16. I was helping you establish independence. By pretending to be me. By blocking their numbers on my phone. You wouldn't have been strong enough to do it yourself, she said, her tone softening as if she were speaking to a child. You're too nice. Too worried about hurting their feelings. I did what was necessary. In that moment, I saw Riley clearly for perhaps the first time. Not as the charming, confident woman I'd fallen in love with, but as someone who had systematically isolated me from everyone I cared about. This isn't love, I said quietly. This is control. Her expression hardened. You can't see it now, but someday you'll thank me. That's not for you to decide, I said, anger breaking through the shock. They are my family. Not yours to manage or eliminate. Fine, she said, her voice ice cold. If that's how you feel. But understand this, if you tell them what I did, we are done. Over. You throw away 3 years because you can't see I was helping you. That's your choice. It was a threat, plain and simple. And in that moment, I realized how much power I had given her over my life. How small my world had become with her at the center of it. The dinner. The next morning, Riley mentioned my sister had texted about a birthday dinner at my parents' that night. I told her we were busy, she said casually. I'm going, I said. She set down her coffee pot slowly. Excuse me. To my sister's birthday dinner. I'm going. She studied me for a long moment. You're upset. I understand that. But don't make a decision you'll regret just because you're emotional right now. I'm not emotional, I said. I'm seeing things clearly for the first time in years. If you tell them what I did, we are done. I mean it. I won't be with someone who betrays my trust that way. I almost laughed. Betrays your trust? After what you did? It's an ultimatum, she said. Tell them, and I'm gone. Simple as that. I spent the day walking around the city, thinking about the past 3 years. About how many connections I'd let wither because it was easier than defending them to her. How many parts of myself I'd modified because they didn't fit her vision of who I should be. Around 4 o'clock, I texted my sister, I'll be there tonight. What can I bring? Her response was immediate, OMG really? Nothing, just yourself. Mom and Dad will be so happy. When I got home to change for dinner, Riley was sitting on the couch. You're really going, she said. Not a question. Yes. And what are you planning to tell them? I met her gaze steadily. The truth. I see. Her voice was quiet, controlled. So that's your choice. It is. She nodded slowly. Then we have nothing more to discuss. You've chosen them over me. No, I corrected her. I've chosen honesty over manipulation. There's a difference. I changed into a button-down shirt and jeans. Grabbed a bottle of wine, my sister's favorite red, and headed for the door. You wouldn't, Riley said, one last attempt at control. I didn't answer. I just left. My mom answered the door, her face lighting up with surprise and joy. You came. She exclaimed, pulling me into a hug that felt like coming home. My dad appeared behind her, his expression a mixture of happiness and caution. My sister bounded down the stairs, throwing her arms around me with unrestrained enthusiasm. Happy birthday, I told her, handing over the wine. You remembered I like this one? She said, eyes wide. Dinner was surreal. The conversation flowed naturally. Everyone carefully avoiding the elephant in the room, my long absence. The unanswered calls, the cancelled plans. But I couldn't pretend. Not anymore. Around dessert, my sister's favorite cheesecake, I cleared my throat. I need to tell you all something, I said. And it's not easy to say. My mom's hand found my dad's across the table. My sister set down her fork. And then I told them everything. About Riley's manipulation. About the blocked numbers and intercepted messages. About the way she had systematically cut them out of my life, while making it seem like my choice. My mom cried silent tears. My dad's jaw clenched tighter and tighter. My sister looked shocked, her birthday celebration forgotten. I had no idea, I finished. I swear to you, I never sent those messages. I never wanted to push you away. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Riley's message was just 3 words, we're done. Goodbye. I showed my parents the text, then turned off my phone completely. Good riddance, I said, and meant it. My mom reached across the table and took my hand. We knew something wasn't right. We just didn't know what. We thought maybe Maybe you didn't want us in your life anymore. Never, I said firmly. I let myself be blinded. I let her isolate me because it was easier than questioning her. I'm so sorry. You have nothing to apologize for, my dad said, his voice rough with emotion. You were manipulated by someone you trusted. That's not your fault. We talked for hours that night. About all the moments I had missed, my sister's new job, my dad's retirement plans, my mom's garden club victories. When I finally left, my mom hugged me at the door for a long time. Come for dinner on Sunday, she whispered. Like before. I will, I promised. Every Sunday. The aftermath. I expected to feel devastated when I returned to the apartment. 3 years with someone, gone in an instant. But what I felt instead was a profound sense of relief. Riley had cleared out most of her things, an impressively fast exit. She'd left a note, "You'll realize your mistake eventually. I hope it's not too late when you do." Classic Riley, positioning herself as the victim. The misunderstood savior who only wanted what was best for me. The fallout was intense. Within hours, mutual friends were texting me, asking what had happened. Riley had wasted no time spinning her narrative that I had blindsided her by discussing private relationship matters with my family, that I had humiliated her and chosen my controlling parents over her. I didn't engage with the drama. Instead, I sent screenshots, evidence of what she had done to those few friends I felt deserved an explanation. The rest could believe what they wanted. Riley's campaign escalated over the following weeks. Sad quotes posted to social media. Cryptic references to emotional abandonment and toxic family systems. She even suggested that I had serious abandonment issues that made healthy relationships impossible for me. Some people believed her. That was the hardest part to accept, that despite everything she had done, her skill at manipulating perceptions meant that some friends took her side. But others saw through it. Especially those who had known me before Riley, who remembered how I used to be. They reached out, reconnected. Invited me back into social circles I had drifted away from. And my family was a constant. Sunday dinners became sacred again. Weekly phone calls with my mom. Helping my dad with projects around the house. Being there for my sister's graduation from her master's program. An event I would have missed if Riley had remained in my life. 6 months after the breakup, I ran into one of Riley's colleagues at a coffee shop. "I don't know if I should tell you this," she said, "but I feel like you should know. Riley did this before. With her ex. Isolated him from his friends and family. Controlled all their communication. It was the same pattern." I wasn't surprised, but the confirmation still stung. The reflection. Looking back now, 2 years after that fateful dinner at my parents' house, I can identify the red flags I missed. The way Riley positioned herself as the authority on everyone's motivations, including my own. How she created problems where none existed, then offered herself as the solution. The subtle way she made me dependent on her interpretation of the world. But I also understand why I didn't see it then. Manipulation doesn't announce itself. It disguises itself as care, as protection, as love. It makes you feel chosen rather than controlled. Special rather than isolated. I've learned to trust my instincts again. To question when someone tells me what another person really meant. To maintain my own relationships without intermediaries. To check in directly when something doesn't feel right. I've started dating again, cautiously. I'm more aware now of the difference between someone who wants to be part of my world and someone who wants to be my entire world. Sometimes people ask if I regret confronting Riley. If I regret choosing truth over a 3-year relationship. I never hesitate in my answer, not for a second. Because when someone gives you an ultimatum, when they say, "Tell the truth and I'll leave," they are banking on your silence. They are counting on the fact that you've already compromised. So much that one more compromise won't matter. But it does matter. The truth always matters. I chose my truth. I chose my family. And ultimately, I chose myself, the self I had nearly lost during those 3 years with Riley. The self that knew, deep down, that love doesn't isolate. It doesn't control. It doesn't manipulate. Real love expands your world. It doesn't shrink it down until there's only room for one person. And every Sunday, without fail, I drive to my parents' house for dinner. Not out of obligation or habit, but because I want to. Because family, real family, is worth protecting. Worth choosing. Worth keeping close. Even when someone you love tells you otherwise.